My name is Scott Robinson, and I've decided to join the ServiceNow Build with BuildAgent challenge. I actually have an app that we've internally been kicking around in order to try to better manage our customer success stories in order to get them through all of the reviews that they need, getting them over to marketing for our own people to use, getting them into ServiceNow for things related to our partner status and all of that. So, I basically went and grabbed a bunch of the information that's available on the ServiceNow partner site for what um, information is required from ServiceNow, and then also added some additional information as I was going through. So created a prompt, created a couple of things based off of the guidance that was given on the developer blog on how to better craft a overall story of like here's the roles I need, here's the tables I need, etc. So this will be the first time running this thing through from start to finish. I did try and run it once. I ended up running out of prompts. So there are a few things that I've added here as far as like, hey, keep the fields in the list that I gave or in the order that I gave, and a couple other things. I'm also trying to see what it can do and what it can't. So from a workflow perspective, it can do some things via script, but it can't really use Flow Designer at this point. I also really want to build a operations workspace for this, which is a limitation of it right now. But at the end of the day, if this thing can get me 80-85% maybe complete on an app, that then it is tuning and polishing and going from there on getting it to the finish line, it greatly enhances our overall ability to develop internal apps because the problem with most consulting organizations, ours included, is if our people are all out building on projects, nobody's inside to be able to run some of these internal projects. So we're going to see what BuildAgent can do for us today. So I've got a developer instance. I've got it all logged in. It has BuildAgent installed on it. So we're going to walk through this from start to finish. So let's just go ahead and click to go in. I'm doing it via the go into the IDE and give the first prompt there because one, I've came up with a more complex prompt, and based on some of the advice, doing the prompt here allows for a little bit more complexity as far as the what I'm asking for. So I'm going to go ahead, let this build for a second, get out of the menu, let that build. Nope, still building. There we go. And go into the IDE and go into the IDE. Tell it that I want to create a workspace and success. Oops, I guess it helps if I'm typing in the right field. Success manager to manage customer success stories. All right, now that's there. And we've got a prompt for an IDE update, so I'm going to go ahead and do that because it's always wise to update to the latest and greatest before doing stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. I will probably cut this little chunk out of the video so that you don't have to see this thing go for pending and then going across the screen, depending on how quickly it moves. All right, we're back and the IDE's updated, so we'll go ahead and close that and that. I'm just going to refresh this just because I reloaded an IDE and I want to make, or I updated the IDE, so I really want to make sure that everything is pulling from the right sources. So we've got our BuildAgent chat setting up here on the side. So the way I've built this to be done is basically I'm going to give it the name, the roles, the tables, and the fields down to some of the workflows in the example, and then the rest of the stuff I have it set up to ask me for the list of products, ask me for competitors, and ask me for some verticals. That way I'm not creating a giganto prompt. So I will go ahead and hit copy on that, paste this long thing into there, and hit send. So I guess from a ServiceNow perspective, for the fact that they give you 10 or 25, or depending on what licensing you have and how you're doing this, prompts, you have the ability to really kind of almost cheat the system, because if you can come up with a prompt that has more of the information that you're going to need, it gives you basically more questions or more time to do the things that you're looking for by creating a big prompt and then a couple of smaller prompts behind it to do individual tweaking depending on how this works. So I think my big prompt on the front end may save me some of my overall in the back end, but like I said, this is kind of trial and error, so we'll see. So it went through and created the application, and now it's asking me for verticals, competitors, and products. Okay, so I'll go ahead and copy in my verticals, my product list, and my competitor list. All right, so now it's going to go out and get itself some knowledge in order to build this properly. All right, it's going to go out and create some tables. Looks like it's creating the product table, competitors table. So it's creating the tables based on the um, big list that I gave it, so those can be reference fields going forward. That makes sense. Kind of interesting to see this thing as it's developing code, just seeing the code popping up and how it's structuring it all. It's very different, or I guess I wouldn't say different. It's creating it the way a normal person would create it, but just it's just interesting to see an AI creating it. And then it's running diagnostics and testing, and it actually found some errors, so now it's removing those. Interesting. Okay. Oh, so now I get what it's doing. It's creating all the records for all of the tables that it created earlier for the competitors and the products and the verticals. All right. Now it's creating workflows and scripts in order to handle the way I said that the workflow should work. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Like I said, I planned on using Flow Designer initially, but it'll be interesting to see how this is putting together what it can do since it can't use Flow Designer. Um, and then going forward, I'll figure out whether I want to keep what it built or delete it and put in something in Flow Designer. I typically use Flow Designer a lot in situations where it's something that I want to have be human readable and easily editable in the future. So if this workflow changes in the future, it'll be a lot easier to edit it as a Flow Designer than it will be to edit it as a script. But we'll see what it comes up with. This might get me out the door on an MVP without even having to try very hard. Right. So it's creating lists. And now it's creating the application menu structure. Okay. Now it's creating examples. Okay. Now it found some more. Now it ran diagnostics and found some errors. Now it's going through. Oh, so it's found a couple errors in what it did with the application menu. All right, so now it says it made progress. Here's what that's completed: tables, roles, sample data, 5 example records, business rules, UI actions, application menu, server logic. Still to complete the dashboard, and then final build and errors. So okay, looks great so far. These, let's continue. So ran diagnostics, found an issue. All right. Now it's adding a dashboard. Now it's creating UI pages. Interesting. Let's see what it does here. Now creating CSS files to make it look nice and pretty. Let's see what it does. Okay, so it looks like it ran diagnostics, ran a build, failed to build. Now what's it to do? Kind of crazy all the iterative development that this thing does, going back and forth with the here's all of the things, it goes to build, finds an issue, goes and troubleshoots it, goes and finds a solution to it, fixes it, and then goes and does it again. There we go. Finished thinking, made excellent progress. Now it's done. Currently fixing TypeScript issues for application menu roles almost resolved. Fix the last few build errors, run a final build, verify everything works. Yeah, please continue. Well, looks like it built successfully that time. May deploy it to my instance. Why not? We've come this far. Okay, the only thing I see here, and this is more of a limitation on me, or I didn't know, is there apparently might be a limitation on the length of the name of something because I initially named it Customer Success Manager or Customer Success Story Manager, and I ended up with Customer Suck. So that might not end up being the final name of this. But hey, if that's the only problem I've got, I am not mad at it. All right, so it says it's done and live. So one, I'd love to go through and copy this here in a minute and just have this so that I can use it later. But let's go and click on this. Look at that. I've got 5 total stories, 1 closed, 1 in progress, 1 draft. Looks like I have, or no, it has 3 in progress. So yeah, those would all be technically in the right stories. Type of win, okay, that works too. I'm not mad at this at all. Now if I go back into my ServiceNow instance and refresh the page, because I just deployed a new app, and I want it to show in my menu. And if I type in customer, I have customer success stories. I'm going to go ahead and star this whole thing because why not? All right, so I have access to the dashboard, success stories, creating a new success story. Follows kind of the same or standard ServiceNow logic. I have access to my reference data for products, competitors, and industry verticals because all of those have the potential to have change, so that's good. So all in all, let's go in and look at the industry verticals. All of those are there, and if I go and look at one specifically, just contains the information whether it's there and it's active, so checks the box for what I was needing out of it. Let's go do the same thing with competitors. Wow, and it actually did a little bit of digging on its own from what I had. So if you remember correctly, here's my competitor list. So it went through and did some digging and found all of these different things from turning it from a really short name into an actual full-on description. Nice. So +1 there. And then if I go into products, did the same thing there, and I have a description and all that. And if I go in, yeah, basic table, but makes it very easy to use and very easy to update going forward. I have the new there, so I can do what I need to there. If I go and look at the success stories that it's created, if I say go into one of these, there's my engagement manager as the sysadmin. What's the status, the go live date, particular products. So can I pull it? Or no, wait a second. That is products. So it looks like products is using a people field instead of having a reference to that initially. So customer pain points, why was ServiceNow chosen? Additional team members. Okay, that should be a team. Okay, yep, that works. So business case, value, notes, notes, notes. Not mad at all of that. So if I want to, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's see if I can do this. Ignore it. Looks like the field. What was the name of the field again? Oh, I copied the name of the field. So um, is a multiple people select field instead of a full selection based on the product table. I'm at 4 prompts remaining at this point, but I've got a pretty good working app at this point, so I see the issue. The list field is wrong table. Let me fix this by, okay. Goes through, builds it, freeze deploys, approve. Going to get out of that for now. Unless that was setting, I should. Wow, it caught an error on my side because I clicked the wrong button and it says, hey, you should have selected sync here. So um, now I get to do it, and now I get to hit sync and build. And I'm not going to do a Git repository yet. I'm actually going to wait until this is done, and then I'm going to put it into a Git repository after the fact. But it's cool that it's warning me about that as I'm going through it, just so that I have an opportunity to back up my stuff. All right. Good deal. So if I go back here, actually just go out. Yes, leave the page because that was where we were before. Now if I come back to success stories and go into success stories, and let's go into that same global manufacturing, and I go into products, and sure enough, I can add multiple products. So I can say this was an app engine and a CSM and an FSM project, and hit select and lock it up, and very nice. And it's closed, so it's already submitted and everything else. I'm very happy with that. I go look at the verticals. I can say they're an automotive customer, sure. And awesome. So that worked. Now if I go and let's say I want to create a new success story and EM name, let's go system administrator since that's who I'm logged in as. Customer country, United States. I feel like I should be able to make that a drop down later on. Products, app, engine, source, valid reference. I feel like there's, ooh, it did not get all of my products in there. So it missed the lower half of the products. But again, that's all it missed. I can get the import into the system. So if I submit, those are mandatory fields. Customer success story name. Okay. Success test one. Acme. Submit. And it's still in draft and it's now in the system, so that worked. And if I go into it, I have the ability to submit for review. There's a UI action there for that, so that worked. And if I go and look at the success dashboard, that pulls me back to that same dashboard, and now I've got 6, so that's updating on the fly. I'm very happy with this. Like this did a lot in a very short amount of time and did a lot of the base creation that is normally kind of drudge work. So I'm extremely happy with this. This is a complete success in my book. So I will post this up on YouTube as well as posting it up on the thing. If anybody has any questions or wants to see the code to this, I am, or the prompts and stuff like that, I'm more than happy to post all of that as well. Um, let me know. Thanks.